Welcome to this episode of the Heartbeat for Hire podcast. I feature Olympians, CEOs, disruptors, authors, professional athletes, and the best of the best, where they share their stories of resilience with my lens on leadership and culture. Let's get started. Greetings and welcome to this episode of the Heartbeat for Hire podcast. 3 things you will learn from this episode today. Number 1, how you can modify your leadership style to inspire your teams. Number 2, some easy tips that will help you crush your sales goals. And number 3, some LinkedIn moves that will help you stand out to your ideal client. If you haven't yet connected with Samantha McKenna on LinkedIn, you are in for a treat. With over 100,000 followers and a fan base that spans generations, Sam delivers content that sings. She is a founder and a CEO, a LinkedIn brand ambassador, a sales savant, mom of the cherubic Alex, and an all-around beautiful human. This is her second time on the Heartbeat for Hire podcast, and there are so many reasons for that. Welcome to the show, my friend. It's so nice to see you.
My face hurts just from smiling, you saying that. Thank you so much. The Alex part was my favorite, of course.
Well, I mean, he is delicious and I just love him so much. So you've been here before. You know how this goes. And anyone that doesn't know you, first of all, I'd be shocked if there's any listener that doesn't know you because I quote you all the time. But could you just give a little bit of your background?
Yeah, just real quick. I have been in enterprise sales pretty much my entire career. I spent about 7 years as an IC, executive leader, leader, and then executive leader after that. Wrapped up my time in corporate America at LinkedIn, where I was just really thrilled to work for such a great brand that I feel like I still bleed so much blue out of. And then started SamSales 5.5 years ago. We're an all-women team of almost 20, over 250 clients, grew really quickly. I do everything from top of the funnel sales trainings all the way to building brands for executives and celebrities alike on LinkedIn. Where else?
Yeah. And if you guys are not connected to Sam or not following her, fix that shit right now. So I always say that in my posts, but seriously, fix it. You will be delighted. Okay. So I want to take you back to when you're a baby AE, a baby account executive. And I want to know who was the first person, or was there a moment that inspired the kind of leadership you wanted to embody?
I think there was. So I think one of the really good fortunes that I had when I was younger is that I had a VP of sales and then ultimately turned to CEO who was just who knew how to sell first and foremost. So instead of just terrible strategies or a discount to bring the deal in, it was actually actual tactics to use to learn how to sell and do all that. But I think on top of that, it was empathy. And this is saying a lot because it was from a fella. And male sales leaders aren't always the most empathetic, but a lot of empathy of where are you coming from, how you must feel. And I think I naturally already had that, but I think that that's helped me, especially as a leader. Not everything goes our way in sales. A lot doesn't go our way. And so thinking about how we're going to react as leaders, how we're going to make that other person feel better, how we're going to fix whatever problem happened, right? But also lead from a place of empathy was critical in seeing that.
Yeah, I had a lot of male leaders. My entire beginning of my career, I was the only woman on every team. So the inspiration that I had was, did you see what happened on the 30-yard line last night? No, I didn't, and I don't care, and that doesn't inspire me. But I had nothing to really model after. So
Yeah.
it's awesome you had that experience, because I think so many people don't. And that's why I built this show, because I really want people to understand what good leadership looks and feels like.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about sales. I would love you to just share. I mean, look right behind you. Show me you know me. Guys, if you've been listening to the show for any length of time, you know I quote this all the time. This is my favorite sales tactic. But how did you figure that out? And what prompted it? And then you trademarked it, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think it must have been over 12, 15 years ago at this point. And I heard one of my leaders say it, show me you know me. And the leader actually turned out to be the officiant at my wedding. So his name is
Oh,
Lee Cohen, if you
amazing.
don't know him. But he ribs me all the time because he's like, I invented that phrase. I'm like, I know. And I was like, and it stuck so hard. And then I went with it and here we are.
Thank
But
you.
yeah, thanks, Lee. Thanks for that. I think the idea of it was really what set me apart in sales. I think that's why it resonated with me so much, that I came to calls prepared. I thought about when I would network, how I could get to know that person instead of talk about myself. I mean, it really bleeds through every single thing we do in sales, from email one to one a client's been ours for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I honestly think, like, I saw one of our clients, Keep Company, said this in their email subject line today for their marketing email. And they said, what if human skills are actually the AI advantage that you need? And I was like, oh,
Yes.
that's right. And it was just so smart. And I'm like, just beautifully said.
Mhm.
And I think it really comes down to that. Like, how are we using our own skills, empathy, our EQ, our research skills, our ability to
Yeah.
connect the dots, build rapport? How are we doing all of that to show our clients that we know them, both as humans, as companies, as business challenges that they have? How are we doing that? And I think we really lack that in this day and age. It's
Oh, yeah.
all about us as sellers. So I think I'll beat this drum until my very last beat, so to
Well,
speak.
I think you're onto, I mean, I totally subscribe to this, and or as the kids would say, I stand with this, STAN, not STAND. And if you need to know what that is, just DM me and I'll explain because I have teenagers. But what I was gonna say is, show me you know me is, yes, it's totally about sales, but it's also about leadership, and it's also, if you do this so well, you know your team inside and out. And my favorite networkers are the ones who know their kids' names, know their partners' names, knows their favorite food or hobbies or whatever. And when you can bring those threads into the conversation, it shows you're listening, it shows you care, it sets
Mhm.
you apart, and it makes you really human. And you called them human skills, but I call them
Yeah,
power skills. And
yeah.
to me, this is what is modern leadership, because everybody can lean on AI, which
Mhm.
is not that personal. Well, it can be, but it's kind of faked. So yeah, that's I think going to be the key differentiator. What were you going to say?
Let's tie those threads together. So how do we think about empathy and leadership, and how do we think about show me you know me from a sales perspective? So I'm going to give you just a recent example. So we had a deal that we were working at Sam Sales, and now it's in limbo right now. And I had two first calls with a client. They were really fantastic. The client moved on to a member of our sales team, and then sent me a note the next day that said, we've our conversation caused us to pause about whether or not we're going to work with you. And I was really shocked by this. And I was like, well, what could have happened? What
Yeah,
possibly could have gone wrong? And so the client feedback came and said, we didn't really feel like she knew us. Like, for everything you guys stand for, right?
yeah,
We didn't feel like the show me, you know me was there. So we found this out last week. Well, I found the new show me, you know me part out this week. And so what do we do, right? How do we react as leaders? So, one, showing that person, that AE on our
yeah,
team, that we know them through what we coach is really critical. And what I mean by that is this person hasn't been on our team very long. They're still new. They're trying to find their footing. They're young in their sales career as well.
sure. Of
And they're probably going to feel really, really badly when they hear this
course
news.
they
So
are.
thinking about this too, like, we can be really hard on the person, or we can say, you know what, shit happens. And
Yeah,
at least we're finding out now. And this is really great as a learning experience, and wonderful that we have the call recording as well. So we can just pull this apart and make you so much better.
yeah,
But I think the feedback back from the rep after I said that was like, thanks for being so gracious. And like, I appreciate it. Like, I'm going to learn about this, etc. But to think about the impact, not only from continuing to build that person up, right? Lead with empathy, make them think like, I don't want to be in this position again, right? Also, just making the person feel like they have psychological safety, that you trust them.
that's
Shit
right.
happens every day. So I think that's critical. But then also the idea of that show me, you know me with the client, right? Just one call
Yeah,
can really change the trajectory of how the client feels about you. So do we know what they do? Do we know what they saw? Do we know the challenges they have? Do we know clients like them?
yeah.
Just showing up to say this is what we do isn't enough, right? We have to show them we know them if we want to win.
I love that. And it's that was such an important moment for that rep and for you as a leader, because you easily could have been like, what the hell happened? What did
Yeah.
you do wrong? And
Yeah.
she would have been terrified. She would have been like in a corner and wouldn't have come out of that for probably a while. And her performance would have suffered more because she would have been worried about everything she was doing. Been there. Um,
Let's think about
or
that too. Yeah. Yeah.
Or you could do what you did and just say, listen, we all learn. She will never forget that moment. She will never
I,
forget that grace. And
I
any
hope
leader
so.
that did that for me, I love telling these stories of, I screwed this up. They were really kind. And then I learned, and I would never make that mistake again. And I think for leaders, please listen to that because you have an opportunity when there's a big gaffe. And oh, by the way, if you delegate something to someone, that is still your thing. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean that they take the blame if something goes wrong. It's still yours.
And
You,
think about, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
no, I'm good. You go, 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 go.
Think about the resilience it takes, right? Like after our confidence has been shaken on something, or we felt really sure about a deal, and then all of a sudden something happens.
Yeah, of
If our boss is, I mean, if it's a repeat mistake, there's something different to talk about. If
course.
it's the first time, right? The reaction of our boss can make or break how quickly we find that resilience and
Yeah,
then the confidence we have on the next calls. Because to your exact point, like if I've been like, what happened? What the hell happened? This can't happen, and really come down on her,
no.
then what happens? Maybe she shows up that same way on the next 3 or 4 calls because she's not 100%. She doesn't feel like she has a good foundation and backing, right? Like our choices there can impact more than just the one mistake that happened.
100%. I mean, and that psychological safety you created, the rest of the team sees it too.
Yeah.
So they know that, if I make a mistake, Sam's going to give me grace too. And
Hmm.
I just think that is such a modern and important way to lead. So I love that you do that.
Or
Uh,
we lean hard into the giving each other a hard time here at Sam Sales. So if any of you have ever followed Paige Tills on our
oh, I love
team
it,
or
Paige.
heard the words Dakota Gate, feel free to look her up on that post. But we like to have a good time with mistakes too, and
Yeah,
we're not curing cancer over here, right? Like shit
no,
happens, and like
no.
let's have fun with that too.
I think that's so important. And yeah, sales can be really serious, but let's just be honest, guys. We are not curing a disease. We are literally trying to, in most cases, sell software or SaaS to someone. And
Yep.
that is not life-changing for the most part. Um, it can be, but not generally.
Yep.
So you do something really special, and I would love the women on the call to know about your monthly leadership calls because
Oh.
I love these calls, but I don't think everybody knows about it. So please tell them what it is, what inspired it, who should come.
Well, first of all, you will get free advice from Lyndsay Dowd if you showed up.
Always.
So please come. It was over 3 years ago. So we kept getting these asks from women to, do you do women's group? Do you do one-on-one coaching? And I was like, no bandwidth for that. And we don't do that. So then we thought, well, maybe this is something that we'll do and we'll just charge for it and we'll keep it to like 10 women. And then I was like, why do that? So this is a great thing that we started, like I said, almost 3 years ago. It's a monthly webinar, third Thursday of every month.
Mhm.
It is open to any woman out there. They're never recorded, so it's meant to be a safe space to ask your questions, vent, seek career advice, talk
Yeah.
about things that might not be going so well, and just get either feedback from me or our wonderful guests and audience members as well. But to me, this was just one of the things that we could do to benefit the
Give back.
community.
Yeah.
I think we have over 1,100 people that are registered, usually 60 to 80 on average that come consistently. And I
Yeah.
think the most lifting part for me about that is that I see people that say, I have to drop by the half hour, or we see people come in at the half hour. Even 30 minutes of that meeting makes a difference. So please come join us, more the merrier, totally
Yeah.
free. We'd love to have you.
I mean, some pretty incredible things have happened on those calls. I will tell you, one of my favorites was a woman. She was a very recent mom of twins, came to the call, and she got up the courage to say, I just 10 minutes ago lost my job.
Exactly what I
And
was going to say. Yeah.
all of us collectively were like, how can we help?
Yeah.
And it was just such this collective level of support. It brought tears to her eyes, it brought tears to our eyes. And that's what community is about, people. So
And I
really
think the
freaking great.
bravery of what's shared on these things, right? Of like, you're having a really hard time with your boss. You want to transition
Yeah,
careers. You grew up in a really, really tough environment, right? I'll never forget that session. I can't say the name of the person since it was not recorded, but
right.
who came and shared that with us, right? And was just tremendously vulnerable.
Yeah,
People who have asked for interviewing advice, right? And then got the job afterwards or
yeah,
had the courage to negotiate their salary. I mean, we could think of what we can do when we shine a light on each other and on our ability to support and coach, and especially for free. Like, that'll be one of the best things we ever do.
well, that is totally my philosophy of, I used the word in a post last week, mudita. And mudita is the
Yeah.
Sanskrit word that means having profound joy for other people's success. And you do that so well. But lifting others up is something I live by. It's how I led. And I know you do that too. And it's just It's just so special. So,
It's so perfectly selfish as well because the positivity
right.
that we feel in our own bodies when we help somebody, like there's
So
nothing
true.
like it, you know, more the merrier.
So true. So you, since the last time you were here, you started a podcast,
Yeah.
and it is really great. I've been
Um,
listening. Will you tell people what it is, where they can find it, and who are your guests?
Yeah, so we did it's called the Show Me You Know Me show. Keep on the branding right there.
Right.
But yeah, the two of my teammates had been on me for quite some time to start the podcast. So I finally caved. They finally closed the deal, and we decided to do it all along of how Show Me You Know Me has played a role in these individuals' careers. So we had the head of DEI on, which is very unfortunately is an episode that we are going to have to cap for probably 4 years, because she also is the head of DEI for a government contractor. So we're in a little bit of
Oh,
a pickle there.
oh,
But we how do you use Show Me You Know Me in DEI? How do you use it in hiring? How do you use it in your ability to get promoted or to be
yeah,
a great leader? Everyone that we've had on our podcast owns a P&L of at least $250 million. One of the things that I found is that some of the same people always make the rounds on podcasts.
yeah,
And these other humans who are insanely successful, who are heads down, who have,
mhm,
managed global massive teams and don't seem to get a lot of the microphone.
yeah.
And they have these incredible stories. So we pull them out. We had the great grandson of William Howard Taft
Oh,
on,
amazing.
who's an executive at Baird Financial. We also had the CMO of Teradata, Jacqueline, who's just incredible stories. But
Mhm.
come check it out on Spotify. And while you were there, if you're so inclined to hit 5 stars to give us a review, we'll be so excited
Oh
for you
gosh.
doing that. But it's tremendous because it's a passion project that gets me just like you doing this. It gets to hear
Mhm.
people's stories, and really just uncover what makes them tick and what's worked.
And guys, Sam is a phenomenal host. It's
Um,
like so smooth, it's effortless. The ending, the last questions, I love it all.
Thanks to
So,
my podcast producer, Courtney. I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing, but thanks
well,
for the kind words.
you would never know. You would never know. So, okay, so let's talk LinkedIn for a minute.
Yeah.
This is a platform we both love, and let's give some of your hot tips of something they could do today that would help them show up better for their ICP.
So let's talk about number one, just engaging with content. So I think posting content tends to be a big hurdle for a lot of people. They're nervous about it. They don't know what to write. They don't know how the algorithm works. And they wonder who's going to care about what I have to say. Spoiler alert, tons of people will care about what you have to say. You just have to get started.
Right.
But instead, just think about how you can engage with comments. So look for your buyers, look for the personas out there that you're wanting to get in front of, look for hiring managers at companies that you want to work for. Look at people like Lyndsay, look at myself, right? Comment in those posts because you will get exposure to so many other people that are way outside of your sandbox. And when I say comment, it's not like, cool article, man.
No
Have a
great
thoughtful
post.
comment.
If you're listening to
Yeah.
this, don't
Great
do great
post.
post.
No preach. Leave that out. What would you say to that person if they were saying exactly that on a conference room floor? How would you engage with them? What's the thought leadership you would share back? Would you ask them a question? So consider that first and foremost. I think second thing, if you are a leader, even frontline manager all the way up, and you're thinking about starting to post content on LinkedIn, I would say have at it. But two, share some personal stories. I
Yes.
think there's still a misconception, right, that LinkedIn is just professional. And there are so many ways to tie your personal stories to professional stories.
Mhm.
So talk about, a major setback that you had in your life and how you powered through to still achieve wonderful things in the working world. Talk about being a new mom at 43 years old and what the hell that's like and what you're supposed to do, right? Be vulnerable about that
Yeah.
because you will inspire other people. And then final tip I would maybe say is if you're like, sounds like a lot of work and how much do I have to do? Just start with twice a week.
Yep.
Do one Tuesday or Wednesday, and then do another one on the weekends. You'll see that you reach different audiences, spark different conversations, and you don't have to work at it too hard. But I will warn you, it gets pretty addicting pretty quickly.
It does.
So say goodbye to some of that free time.
Well, and I think the other thing that people don't really think about when they think about LinkedIn is that this is a really inviting place. And
Mhm.
if you're open, you can make some pretty extraordinary friendships.
No
And
kidding.
I mean, that's how
Case
we
in
met.
point.
That's how we
Case
met.
in point.
But I mean, so many of the women that I've connected with on your leadership call and that are in my community, I met them all through LinkedIn. And then you really like double down and then you meet them in real life, like, oh my gosh,
We'll
it's
get there one day.
next level. Yeah, that
Yeah.
has to happen. But I really just do believe this is such a different platform. I mean, we're both on Insta. We send each other funny stuff all the time.
Yeah.
But there's like I don't engage as much on Insta. I laugh, I post, I share. And that's kind of the extent. This is
Yeah.
like you find your thought leaders, you find your experts on whatever topic, and you're like, ooh, I love that voice. Let's
Yeah.
talk some more.
I
That's
think
such a
there was
cool
like
thing.
the misconception too that like you can't build these relationships just online, right? And
Totally
you have
can.
the opportunity to eventually meet in person as you travel or go to conferences and
Yep.
things like that. But you'd be surprised, right? The amount of really strong relationships. Again, you and me as a great
Mhm.
example of that that you can build just by investing in each other, celebrating each other, helping each other, giving advice. I mean, it's not necessarily that face-to-face communication that you need every single time. Like you can do a lot digitally.
Oh yeah. Well, and guys, I was a total fangirl for Sam, and I reached out to her and was just like, sometime would you come on my show? And she did.
With
And
pleasure.
we built a really nice friendship ever since. And I trust her advice so much. So it's just such a joy having her here. So my friend, tell us, since the last time, what inspires you?
Oh gosh, I've been inspired, but it's gonna sound kitschy, but by my little boy and just kind of
Yeah.
seeing yeah, Alex in the world and everything. But honestly, I've been trying to do a lot more listening to podcasts. And so one of the ones that I'm listening to are all the stories. I'm sure all of you guys listen to this as well, but the Armchair Expert
Mhm.
with Dax Shepard, just so good.
He's so great.
Oh, so great. And I've been re-listening to some of the HBR Women at Work, if you guys are not listening to that, because I think one thing that's interesting too is I talked about this in a post probably a few years ago. You listen to things or you watch shows or you read books and you read that when you're, let's say, 25 years old, and then when
Mhm.
you're 35 and 45 and so on and so forth, you read those same things that you loved so much and they hit differently.
Totally different lens. Yeah.
Yeah, totally different lens. So I've been going back to some of the pieces that I love to see what does today, Sam, think about this? How do I
Yeah.
evaluate this? How do I read this? There's one of my favorite articles that I read, and it must have been 2014, I think. It's called Madam CEO, Go Get Me My Coffee, something like that. And it's a New York Times piece by Adam Grant and Sheryl Sandberg. And it talks about uh, like office housework and who's willing to do that, who's willing to take notes, who's willing to set up for parties, who's willing to do that work. But it's really interesting. I go back to that at least once a year.
Mhm.
And even just something like as fun as my favorite show, Sex in the City, which I've
Mhm.
watched through the entire seasons,
Yep.
probably a dozen times at this point, and hundreds of hours of watching random episodes. But I always like to go back and look at that every few years.
I know.
How do I feel about the girls now? How do I feel about the state of the world now through my new lens? What about you? What's inspiring you?
Oh, well, I first of all, I'm beside myself that Ted Lasso is getting another season. So that is
Oh
for sure one of my favorite shows. It's also one of my favorite leadership shows. So I love everything about it. And I
yeah.
heard he's coaching a women's soccer team. So I was
Yeah.
like, so
I'm
good.
so excited. It's what we
Um,
needed. We
and
really
then
needed this.
my other favorite is Schitt's Creek. I've watched
Oh
both
God.
I think three times. And
Fold it in. Just fold it
anytime
in.
I'm with anybody that hasn't seen it, I'm like, start it again, and I'll watch it at the same time, and we can recap together because there's like joy and community. So I love doing that.
Oh yeah.
So what would you like your legacy to be?
Oh God. I think the legacy I want is a couple of things. So walk through fire to make anybody laugh. Still wildly inappropriate until the day she died. Um,
This is why
you
we're
know,
friends.
Stra strive, I will never grow up, and I'm proud of that. Strive to make a positive impact everywhere she went. And I think the biggest thing that I want as my legacy is that you win by doing things differently. And I think with that, it's the way that we build a company. It's the way that we treat our customers. It's the
Yeah,
way that we are as a spouse. It's the way we are as a mom. It's the way we are as leaders.
yeah.
And I think this really comes from my mom. My mom was someone, if you can imagine, when I was young, she She took these lemon trees from Italy, and she packed them in her suitcase, and she illegally brought them home. And then she planted these lemon trees in our front yard, like where like normal people have grass. There
Yeah.
was nothing but lemon trees that grew to the size of grapefruits. And it was mortifying because people would be like, "Is that your house with the lemon trees?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And as like a middle schooler, I was mortified. But my mom had a way of just not giving a shit about what anybody thought of her,
Love
which I'm
that.
not quite there yet. But she always did her things her way. And I think that that has been a thread in my whole life. Through insubordination of just being like, maybe some stubbornness of I know how to do things better. But just always wanting to shun the status quo. And I think on the sales side too, right? Like having never made a cold call before, that angers people sometimes. And in fact, I just recorded a video for LinkedIn about that, about how you can win in sales by not making cold calls, by not compromising your authenticity, integrity,
Yeah.
and who you are. So I think it's that, like those couple of things, but just that I always do things a little bit differently, and this is how
I
I
love
saw
that.
success in my whole life.
I love that. I always called my teams Mavericks and Hustlers, and I wanted
Um,
them to wear that proudly. And I'm like you, I do things differently. I've been on the weirdest career path my entire life. And, if you told me back when I was at Big Blue, like, Linds, you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to write some books, you're going to start a podcast, I'd be like, you're on glue. What are you
the hell?
talking about? And, being open and just knowing there isn't just one way to do something, I think is really inspiring. So
Yeah.
you're well on your way to your legacy, my friend.
Thank you.
What's next for you?
What's next? I think we're figuring out how I think at the 5.5 year mark, almost six come this September. We're thinking of now, we put the infrastructure around our business. We put the scaffolding up last year, like I said.
Right.
I think we've really found our path in some ways. And now, much to the chagrin probably of everybody at our company, it's time to figure out how to expand what we've already
Bill.
built on. So
Yeah.
how do we grow up even more? How do we bring on some serious experts in what we do that have already done this 100 times and can say, I'm going to take operations to a different level? So we'll see. And I think, as we kind of ponder that, I've always said, like, I don't need to see hockey stick growth. So I don't need to build this business to be a 100 million enterprise. I need to do good work, keep people employed, feel like we're making an impact. And that's really it. So I think it's kind of an inflection point of what do we want to do next, and reflecting on that.
Well, you always keep the heart center, which I think is so important. And it's so clear in your brand and your company and your mission. And there's nobody that would question that. And I think you will always kind of keep that as your true north. So
Yeah, for sure.
whatever you do, I think it will always stay that centered. And if
Thanks.
it doesn't, I'm coming for you. But it'll be fine.
Keep me in check. Thank you. Thank you.
So
Thank
how
you.
can people find you, Sam?
Come say hello on LinkedIn, of course, and pop over to our website. Samsalesconsulting.com has 92% of everything we do on there is completely free of charge. And if you want to invest a little bit in your professional development dollars, take a look at our shorts that are on there. We have a playbook for just about everything. And I think over almost 6,000 subscribers to those playbooks now. So hopefully you will find value in them just like others have. But please come say hello, join our women's group. We'd love to have you.
Amazing. Sam, this is always one of my favorite things to do with you. Thank you for being on. And guys, if you liked what you heard Sam say it before, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave a 5-star review at Apple or Spotify. It matters so much to the growth of the show. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. Sam, you're the best. And
Thanks, Lyndsay. Right back.
have a great day, everyone. Get out there and lead with heart. Take care. Are you ready to elevate your leadership style and create an exceptional workplace that stands out from the crowd? I'm here to introduce you to a game-changing resource that will transform the way you lead and shape your company culture. It's time to embrace the power of top-down culture. This practical guide empowers your leadership for lasting success, helping you create a workplace where everyone thrives. Get top-down culture today, and let's reshape the future of leadership together. Thanks for listening to this episode of Heartbeat for Hire. I hope you enjoyed what you heard. If you did, please subscribe to my YouTube channel or consider leaving a 5-star review and a great rating at Spotify or Apple. Thank you so much for your support. Have a great day.